Oh Really versus Unretired, and this is going to be a post-duet video. And also, before we hop in, there are only 12 hours left in the 7-day free trial. If you want to go ahead and sign up for this to my Patreon, you can, and I'll leave a link to it down below in the description. And let's go ahead and hop into the match now. Okay, so we will go ahead and see Unretired decide to go first. 40 versus 41. We got Tanky, Perulia, Perfume, Foolish Burial Goods, Dominus Impulse. They have Caesar, Raisin, Regenesis Archfiend, Regenesis Code, and Regenesis Warrior. Okay, so they are playing the little, Regenesis package. This is an Earth, this is a Fire, attributes kind of match up. Works with
Come
Burger.
back here whenever you're tired.
So now they will go main phase, normal Raisin. We made it to main. Okay, made it to main phase. Make rock effective special. Chain Perulia. Sure, that was crazy. That was crazy. They draw into the trap, and then they're gonna go ahead and search out field spell, effect goes search. It's gonna grab out Holy Sue. And then activate Holy Sue, reveal Caesar to special summon itself out. They draw into Fua, and then end phase, field spell, go ahead, set trap, and then pass, they draw into a Kaleido Chick. Okay, and then I guess this doesn't do anything good. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think these Regenesis cards are that good. Maybe if we were in a format where like your opponent also consistently ended on a monster with 25 original attack or defense, then like maybe that can help it a little bit more. But even then, I don't think it'd be worth it, because I was gonna say it's like this one, the best one, has to reveal one in hand. It can't even have like, it's not like I can just have Cryptor on field and I can summon Archfiend. So now we're gonna go main phase, activate Foolish Burial Goods to go dump Perfume, and then we have Perfume, banish, discard the Serenade Dance, go ahead, grab out the Lunalight Tiger, then activate the Serenade Dance. They go ahead, chain Caesar to bounce Dr. Madlove. Okay, and then they're gonna go ahead, bring out a Gold Leo, discard Fua, Gold Leo, add a Silver Hound. Also could have summoned this in a zone that they can't potentially Raisin pop in. So we're gonna search Silver Hound, discard Silver Hound. Silver Hound effect, go ahead, bring out Kaleido Chick. Yeah. Then they're gonna go activate Holy Sue. How is this worded? Special one Lunalight monster from your deck except for a copy of itself, and if you do, you cannot special one from the X deck except for Lunalight monsters while you control that face-up monster. Okay. I was gonna say, like, I consider not stealing Kaleido Chick here, because, it has to take them on with the lowest attack, but I was just curious that if they stole this, would this player still be locked? Because I know, like, Unchained Shavara will still lock, like, oh really, if they were the ones to summon it and it got stolen. So they're gonna reveal it to take the Gold Leo, and then activate Caesar to pop the Kaleido Chick there. Okay, Activate Tanky. Maybe could have waited a little bit because they weren't locked in the Luna Lights. So now they go activate Tanky, but then you let them dump like Yellow Martin or something. Yellow Martin can try to bounce back Kaleido Chick, which would unlock them anyways. But they also don't have to do that. Maybe they just have a fusion spell in hand and then you get kind of punished. They're going to go activate Black Sheep, discard, go ahead search out Polly from the deck to the hand. And then from here we're going to go normal summon out Kaleido Chick. And then on summon you're good, Kaleido Chick effect to go dump. So that's going to dump a Leo Dancer from the extra deck. And then activate Lunalight Perfume, summon back out the Kaleido Chick. Then on the summon a Kaleido Chick, thinking if they want a board wipe, but they know Polly, Lunalight Tiger, and they know Perfume Engrave. They're gonna go Kaleido Chick, dump Yellow Martin, and then activate Lunalight Tiger effect, special summon back out Yellow Martin. Then they said actually it should just be Black Sheep instead, and then Yellow Martin to bounce back Lunalight Tiger, special summon itself out. On that summon, activate Trap to go ahead and blow up the board, and then now they can chain Silverhound and banish the Leo Dancer plus itself to go ahead and just negate that, which is kind of absurd here. Now they're gonna go activate Polly. Yeah, if our opponent didn't activate Caesar earlier for no reason too, they would have got to keep Dr. Madlove on field. Oh, but I guess they didn't have a dark for this anyways though, right? Yeah, they didn't. And they had fire, dark. Maybe it's like Caesar bounced back and then Dr. Madlove to summon. Couldn't they have summoned off this instead of taking anyways? It's like taking like it's rid of the body, but couldn't they have special from deck and that also would have gotten rid of the body while also providing us like more engine rolling, which I think is like really good to have, especially in this deck, to have just like extra copies of attributes and stuff. So now they're gonna go ahead Polly into the Liger Dancer, and then yeah, the Kaleido Chick. Wait, the name of this face-up card on the field can be treated as that, but the problem is like this isn't the one that dumped it, right? Am I tripping? Because this only like lets you copy it if it was the name, but I'm pretty sure that you didn't get the dump off that one. Like dump the Leo Dancer off that one. So now they're gonna get Kaleido Chick effect, add back Polly, and Black Sheep effect to add back Lunalight Tiger. Now from here, we'll go activate Lunalight Tiger, effect a special summon back out Kaleido Chick effect to dump Leo Dancer, make the Dempsey, and then we have Dempsey effect to go Surge. They said Detach effect. Okay. Because it doesn't detach for cost. Okay. Yellow Martin effect, go ahead and search out Masquerade. Activate Masquerade. Masquerade, go ahead, dump Emerald Bird. Emerald Bird effect, summon back out Kaleido Chick, dump a Gold Leo, and then link off in the SP. SP effect, go ahead, banish the field spell, and then activate Perfume, banish, discard Polly, go ahead, search out Lunalight Wolf, and then activate Wolf, and then we have Wolf effect that can go ahead and fuse and bring out another Liger Dancer. This is like double Liger Dancer is so hard to deal with. They're gonna go end of main, they're gonna activate Rock to add back, and then we're gonna go attack into that. They said I read it wrong, my bad. Okay, they're just gonna go Liger Dancer, beat over Caesar. Yeah. Oh, they read like reading the rock wrong on how it works exactly, because they have to attack the guy with the highest attack. So attack over Caesar. Then they have to attack over Gold Leo, because this has the highest attack. Because it's just, well, you have a Vanquish Soul, they have to attack the one with the highest attack. It's not like they have to attack the highest attack Vanquish Soul. But they're just going to beat over the whole board. They can't attack directly because of SP. They go set Dominance Impulse, pass, they draw a Jowlong. And then activate normal Raisin, activate the effect, chain SP to banish itself plus Raisin. Trying to chain Raisin to go pop, but that doesn't work. And it does not look like they know how that works, but yeah, you cannot activate the effect to search and the effect to reveal in the same chain. So it says you can only use one per chain and cannot activate more than one in the same chain. That'd be really broken if you could, though. Go ahead, search out Holy Sue, and then now they're trying to think of a way to deal with Liger Dancer. So they're gonna go summon Archfiend, and then Archfiend will not be searching because we drew both of our other Regenesis cards, okay, and then special summon out Warrior. It's kind of unfortunate that they drew both of their other Regenesis cards, right? Then they have Kita effect to go take the Dempsey. Okay, that's fine. Even Underworld Goddess, like, would only out one. But they're just gonna dump Saber Dancer to pop their board, and then Kita effect to go search. They're just gonna grab out a Raisin. Okay, and then activate Holy Sue, reveal Raisin, special summon out, activate Holy Sue, and it's like, these are just unaffected. So, it's so hard to beat these cards. And they're Regekis. Go ahead, bring out Heavy Burger off Holy Sue, Heavy Burger reveal to draw on the Druid's Worm, then activate Jowlong to special summon itself out. Now we can link those off to summon out Dark Charmer effect to go take, Chain Dominus Impulse, no trapping Rainbow, so it won't be destroyed at least. Then activate Druid's Worm, banish the Saber Dancer, special summon out. And then on that summon, Liger Dancer to go ahead and pop their board, and they admit defeat. Yeah, they only played one field spell, otherwise setting up another field spell there could have been huge. Now we have Droll, Foolish Burial Goods, Lunalight Fusion, Foolish Burial, and Ferulia. They have Holy Sue, Jowlong, Holy Sue, Judgment, Droll. Okay, so...
Please accept this.
Dude, there's no way! There's just no way, like... Really? We don't drop Ferulia straight away again? Like, okay, here's the thing, right? Is like...
I am at your service.
No, there's no way. There's no way I'm holding that, right? I was trying to think if there's an argument for it, but then, like, even if there is an argument for it, there's not an argument for it game one. Because what if you're just playing against, like, Malice or Ryziel, and they just go, like, first play Special X, and you didn't Ferulia. Or first play normal Dormouse, and you didn't
Welcome
Ferulia.
to the roost. Very well. A quick rest, right?
They draw onto a Heavy Poly, which this card is crazy. Because if you read this, as fusion summon one fusion monster from your extra deck, use 3 more monsters from your hand or field as material, sure, whatever. But then it says you can also banish monsters from your extra deck as material up to the number of monsters your opponent controls, but you lose life points equal to the total attack of monsters banished this way when the fusion monster is summoned. So, you could just go, boop, summon out Liger Dancer, activate Foolish, and then Foolish dump a Silver Hound effect that goes special, bring out Gold Leo, and then Gold Leo effect, go ahead, grab out Kaleido Chick, and then discard Heavy Poly, and then they drop Droll, normal summon out Kaleido Chick, effect dump Lunalight Wolf, and then Gold Leo to add back the Lunalight Wolf. It's thinking, okay, so no worries, my deck is bun, so probably doesn't matter. Okay, well they do play Regenesis cards, so they're gonna go Foolish Burial, dumping Poly, overlay into Babushka, and they said you can't because Silver Hound. That was crazy too, because like, why did we even Foolish Burial Poly there? I don't know. I guess you take a not great draw at a deck. They're gonna go ahead and activate the Lunalight Fusion. Then they said that's fine, but they're just gonna bring out Cat Dancer, and then activate Kaleido Chick to add back Poly. Okay, now it makes a little bit more sense if they were gonna fuse off, but their plan was to make Babushka after they did that. Then activate Lunalight Wolf. Then they have activate Wolf effect to go ahead, banish, and bring out the Perfume Dancer, and then they're gonna go Perfume Dancer, but they should have activated Kaleido Chick effect to make it so that way the opponent can't activate anything during the battle phase. Really good effect. Perfume Dancer, bounce back Lunalight Wolf, and then decides to not special summon off of this or anything. Because could have brought the Lunalight Wolf out technically there, and then we're just going to go main phase 2, make SP, try to SP the back row, but they're just going to Judgment the summon. Yeah, it's definitely worth the life points there to get rid of SP. Then they go ahead, try to pass, activate Holy Sue at the end of main. End of main 1. They're under Droll, so they can't Ferulia here and try to draw. So bring out Holy Sue and then pass. They draw Regenesis Warrior. Okay. So they don't have a Dark for this though to special summon. They do have Holy Sue that can special summon out by revealing. Reveal Jowlong and try to special chain Perulia. I hate how this player plays Perulia. And I hate that, like, it's not, like, completely sucking for them either. It's not been good. I still think, so, okay, bring out Holy Sue, they draw on the Fua, and then drop Fua now in case they start going for, like, rank 5 stuff, like Nash Knight. Then they just go ahead and admit defeat. So GG, this deck is terrible. Vanquish is good in my opinion. Unsure about the Regenesis stuff though. Yeah, specifically this version, just trying. Yeah, I don't like the Regenesis cards. Honestly, I don't see why you'd play them in the deck. Like, I know they work with Burger, and like, technically they are attributes, but like, I don't care. I don't think any of that matters. And also, like, well, I guess it doesn't matter, but, like, the Archfiend being an Earth, like, you don't really need Earths. Like, if you combo in your deck, you get Earths because you search Caesar, and then you have Caesar bounce Holy Sue, and now you have Holy Sue back in hand, you had Caesar in hand at one point, so you had Earths the entire time. So you really only, like, need an Earth when you get, like, interrupted crazy amounts, or when you're going second and you want a Holy Sue, like, turn 0, like their turn 1, to reveal like Earth Dark and take or something, then an Earth can come up, just because you need a Dark plus a different attribute, and if you have Dark plus Fire or Dark plus Earth, either way Holy Sue's a hand trap, and you just want Holy Sue to be a hand trap. But, with that being said, we end up seeing Lunalight win there. Yeah, definitely not the greatest gameplay. I mean, who's holding Perulia? But with that being said, the DB grind, and like, it worked this game too, because they would have dropped it, and they bricked, so like, I would have gotten punished, and then it's crazy, because then they drew in the Fua, and that just made the opponent admit defeat, so it's like, it's so dumb. But alright, with that being said, the DB grinder signing off. Peace, have a nice day, stay safe.
It's nothing but exciting.
Hello guys. Today I would like to make a presentation on the Molchari meta, how you can play it. But before we go into how to play it, what is a Molchari? Molcharis are monsters of an archetype that currently persists of 3 monsters. They all have a very similar effect that allows you to discard them as a quick effect, and for the rest of the turn after this effect is used, draw 1 card per summon that your opponent does from a specific place. You can use up to 2 Molcharis per turn, and only use them if you control no cards. This usually causes you not be able to use this while you have a persisting board, be it spells and traps, or monsters, or even a field spell. And lastly, they also have a condition that requires you to shuffle back cards randomly from your hand until you have maximum 6 cards more than your opponent currently controls on the field. So, which Molcharis do exist? Currently we have 3, as said. The first one that was released in Infinite Forbidden is Molchari Perulia, which allows you to draw 1 card when your opponent summons monsters with their hand. The second one, and the most famous one, is Molchari Fubala, released in Rage of the Undead. It allows you to draw 1 card when your opponent summons from their deck or their extra deck. And the final one that we got in Suda is Molchari the Owls, which allows you to draw 1 card when your opponent summons from their graveyard or their banishment. Why do people dislike Molcharis? Are very similar to a certain card that is banned in the team, called Maxi. Maxi is a card that allows you to draw 1 card every time your opponent special summons a monster. And it's currently legal in both Master Duel as well as the OCG, albeit in a semi-limited or limited fashion. The TCG, it has been ever banned since Spiral format, and it is commonly considered among the top 5 best Yu-Gi-Oh cards ever printed, due to its oppressive nature. However, compared to Max C, the cards are, as said, a little bit more balanced. The Molcharis have a couple exploitable weaknesses that you can to design your turn to play around or into them. First of all, the same as Max C, it is you that decides how many draws your opponent gets. So if you have a hand that does not want to give your opponent too many draws, you don't have to. Also, the Molcharis are not usable while your opponent controls a board, as said, which makes it an effectively dead card in their hand that they can draw off of draw effects, etc., etc. Also, Molcharis, the more you play, the more deck space they use. And this deck space can become an issue if you want to insert other non-engine. So they come with an opportunity cost. Despite this, Molcharis have been extremely popular in the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG. This is just a sample list that I have taken from one of the latest regionals. This is a Mitsurugi Ryziel build, and as you see, despite the these cards only being effective while going second, this deck plays 6 copies of them in the main deck and 3 of them in the extra deck. This just is a testament of how respected these cards are in the current. But despite being that powerful, as said, they have weaknesses that can be exploited. And also, you have different lines of counterplay that you can do against Molchari. So the first way how you can counter them is the most obvious.
What the fuck?
You could just negate the Molchari. There are cards like Karovna's Out Designator or Recalled by the Grave that are dedicated towards removing hand traps, but also other cards that usually are not thought of as outs for non-engine, such as Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, can be effective at negating Molchari. And this is one of the most common uses and the most common reasons that you're currently seeing Ash Blossom, despite power creep making decks pretty much not care about a singular Ash Blossom. Also, some decks that do not care so much around that restriction can use Droll and Lockbird to restrict Molchari's draws to a minimum by using it after your opponent draws a card off Molchari. And decks like Malice or Life Twin can be able to do. However, negating them is not as effective if your opponent opens multiple. So if your opponent activates 2 Molcharis, you better have 2 separate ways of negating them, otherwise you will have to accept that you have to use the next option. The second option might sound the most the least preferable, which is passing your turn. Molcharis are inherently a -1 in card advantage if they are used preemptively, or are a net neutral if they are chained to an effect that would summon for certain. So you can technically say, if you look at your hand and see that your hand already has a lot of disruption, that you can just pass your turn to a Molchari that was preemptively thrown, such as Molchari Perulia is often done. But some Molcharis, such as Fuvalos, or especially Molchari Mianos, are cards that are often thrown in response to a card, so they always replace themselves. But still, it can be an option to just pass turn instantly. As said, if you have non-engine that can protect you back, or if you have your own Molcharis that you want to evolve. And usually even a combination of them. It is risky, but sometimes it will save you. The more preferable way to do it is to make a half board. Sometimes your deck has options that let you produce interruptions at the same or a better rate your opponent is currently drawing cards. So One example would be, for example, Malice, summoning Red Ransom to search Malice in the Mirror, which usually produces 2 interruptions, one via Malice in the Mirror negating a card, and the second one via MTP07 banishing one card your opponent controls without targeting, and also providing follow-up in terms of searching a Malice card. For the deck that I am playing, which is White Forest, which likes to set up both via Bell's monsters are confronted with a Mulcharmy Fulo loss. Back with your own non-engine, such half-boards can often win you the game and are probably the most preferred method of dealing with Mulcharm. But this requires pre-planning and knowledge of your deck. For example, if I am confronted with a Mulcharmy Fulo loss, but I am not directly able to search my Diabella engine in my White Forest deck, I might also just opt to summon Jurashid, the Cursed Thunder God, instead, and then set cards that are interruptions such as Black Goat Laughs or Forbidden Droplet. For hand trap decks such as Malice or Life Twin, can just pass their turn on IP Mana, or in Malice's case, Heart's Cryptor or Red Ransom, and then use the rest of their interactable hand traps to protect that half board and reach a turn 3 where they will not be able to try. As said, you need to know what your deck does, and you need to pre-plan for those. The next option is one that I should not prefer unless you are absolutely confident in it, is accepting the challenge. Accepting the Mulcharmy challenge means you're completely ignoring them and playing as if they have not resolved, letting your opponent draw the card. Engines only have a limited amount of pushes, specifically weak engines can be stopped by just a few interruptions if they are sequenced correctly and you have the correct knowledge of how to use them against that deck.
If you also end on
Also,
floodgates,
your
that's
non-engine can
the most that's
end a game
the most reliable
in addition to your boards.
way you can choose to
So
accept the
that
challenge.
is another thing that you have to
For
know.
example, I have Vanquish Ruler on my
Decks such
Tricron.
as Life Twin
As
are
long as they don't
often,
draw
full
Imperm,
combo through, just so you can
then we're
have
usually
enough
fine.
interruptions to stop them from
or
playing,
we can
and
end
then
on a
or turn
Spell Trap Negate as
3,
well, then
where you can OTK back.
even Infant Emperor.
Special
not gonna do
version
much.
of doing this,
They have
accepting
2 of
the
them.
Mulcharmy challenge, is if your deck is really, really unfair, as in FTK. Decks like Six Samurai or Gimmick Puppets are very notable examples for decks that would prefer to
FTKs
combo
as well.
through the Mulcharmy in order to let your
Oh, you
opponent not
Naxi'd
reach
me?
their
Cool,
own turn.
I'm gonna draw my
And
entire
just
deck for Exodia now.
ending the game turn 1. So FTKing is always an option, and similar as Max C, you can also summon an infinite amount of times, let your opponent draw their deck out, because Mulcharmy Perulia will allow you to do that, for example, in Six Samurai. However, accepting the challenge always comes with the risk that your opponent draws a blowout, payout, or a combination of hand traps that can stop your shenanigans place, while still having access to engine due to the immense amount of card advantage they are accumulating. Option number 4 is floodgating the pack. Certain cards or conditions can be utilized as long as you set up their precondition to paralyze your opponent or to minimize the card advantage that they have achieved off of the Mulcharmy. Most notable option right now is Harpy's Featherstorm, which is played by decks that have access to a Wind-Winged Beast in order to completely stun a deck out of their monster effects. Also, a solution that I have personally been using in the past is Deck Devastation Virus to nuke out all their monsters that have less than 1500 attack, just so that you can make sure that they have very minimum plays. So you're doing maximum card draw. Another recently very popular choice is Heavy Slump, which makes your opponent discard their cards until they have a certain amount, if they have drawn over a certain threshold. Also, cards that are generally good, such as Artifact Lancia or Drone Lockbird, can be an option. The final option that I would like to present is one of the most ambitious ones, and this is more gambling or more mind games than it actually is strategy, pre-planned strategy. If you're facing a deck that likes to side 6+ Mold Charmies, such as in this meta, Pure Mitsurugi, you can decide to side your own Mold Charmies and then let them go first while they have Mold Charmies in their deck. Simply because it is often expected that that the losing player is going to go first after siding. If you then proceed to go second, your opponent might have sided too many Mold Charmies, and therefore might have weakened their actual deck, and and in result, allowing you to proceed to OTK. I have been doing this very successfully against Pure Mitsurugi. It is always fun to let them go first, and them normal summoning a Charmy and doing whatever they can to establish a half board, while they side out certain cards that would make them stronger, such as Grand Purification, in order to side in their Mold Charmies, which are, of course, dead if they're going first. So then you can just end the game, and even if they pass on an empty board, you have the threat of pushing for game. This only works against decks that you know that they make an end board that you can reliably beat, especially with just engine. Or if you have non-engine that is specifically effective at that. All in all, I think Mold Charmies were a really, really good addition towards the video game, and have helped a lot with the issues of hand trap decks being very powerful options going first, and also weakening those going first decks by encouraging them to play these Mold Charmies, which are inherently not good at going first, but only good at going second. And if they become more frequently reprinted and more accessible to a general player base, it might actually help the health of the game a lot. Anyways, I thank you for listening to the small presentation, and I hope you guys learned on how to deal with Mold Charmies.
Freddy Fazbear, the one who started it all even though he has never been alone. The titular showrunner of the franchise who has been present in every game, or at least had a variation or two in each one. Who has played the role of bloodthirsty antagonist, tragic victim, and lovable hero across the many games that make up the FNAF series. Today we are going through the story of Freddy Fazbear. Freddy's first appearance was in the original Five Nights at Freddy's, shockingly enough. But instead of being the first threat you face, as you might expect, Freddy is technically the last of his band to become a major threat, as he doesn't start wandering until Night 3, during which he will slowly move through the rooms before arriving at your door, and if you don't block him immediately, he'll be on you like your free pizza. You can hear him either laughing or crying as he moves around the pizzeria. If Freddy gets you, it's lights out. But if the lights go out, something peculiar happens. Freddy will stand in the doorway, flash the lights in his eyes, and chime out the Toreador March through a music box. It is unclear how long this will last. Sometimes he goes through the whole song and you might barely skirt to morning. Sometimes he'll get a jump scare almost immediately. It's randomized. So Freddy's story is spilled out in newspaper clippings you can find hung in the pizzeria hallway. 5 children were lured away by someone in a mascot suit and went missing. Suspiciously, along this time, the animatronics began to reek and leak bodily fluids. The children were never found, but their souls remain, animating the suits they were once hidden inside of. This is pretty much the full story of Freddy in FNAF 1, but there is actually a second Freddy hidden in the game, this being the Easter egg character known as Golden Freddy. Rarely you may see a Golden Freddy poster out in the hallway, and you might lower your cameras to see that the slumped suit is now sitting in the corner of your room. If you don't put the cameras up quickly, you're done for. There's a lot of lore surrounding Golden Freddy, enough to get a video of its own, so I will not be discussing them now, mostly because, frankly, I don't want to. This bear isn't just a secret character puppeteering things behind the scene, it's a ball of loose threads, all of which point to nowhere good, and I expect that anything I say on the bear will be nothing but loose speculation. Let's instead move on to FNAF 2, where we get introduced to the two new, quotations on the new, versions of Freddy. Golden Freddy is here as well, but he's mostly been devoted to a head. Let's first look at the brand new top-of-the-line animatronic known as Toy Freddy. Toy Freddy, like the entire toy line, are supposedly updated animatronics with built-in facial recognition software and a connection to a criminal database, so that they can identify possible threats. Alas, this doesn't stem the rampant death count at Freddy's. Toy Freddy himself is a peculiar specimen. A rounded plastic-looking body, a square jaw, a squat face. He doesn't resemble Freddy himself, but more so a cousin of the bear, though that is likely just a designing flaw in-universe. In FNAF 2, Toy Freddy has pretty much zero character. No lines, no real standout gimmicks, and competing with, 10 other animatronics, including the original Freddy, Toy Freddy didn't have a chance to really stand out, not even being as much of a major design change from the original as his bandmates. He's just off-kilter Freddy. Toy Freddy shows up on night 1, he walks around, then comes to the office, and you have to put on a mask to trick him into leaving. That's pretty much it. While he doesn't seem too impressive, it might have been how bland Toy Freddy was that led to some interesting developments with him later on. I'll get into it later, but the whole rigmarole perhaps requires an even deeper dive at a later time. Let's put him on the back burner for now and move on to the old Freddy who he was replacing. This being Withered Freddy. As the name implies, Withered Freddy is a decayed Freddy Fazbear shoved into the back of the pizzeria and left to mold and molder. Though unlike his bandmates, Withered Freddy isn't looking too shabby. That hasn't done much to appease his aggression, however. Withered Freddy all but replaces Toy Freddy on the later nights, but his gimmicks are much the same. Enter office, get warded off by the mask. There is also an Easter egg known as Shadow Freddy who sometimes can be seen on the screen. Shadow Freddy, who resembles a purple Withered Freddy, doesn't seem too impressive, though this is one of those mysterious lore-related characters who became a staple of the games, at least for a little while. Though as of FNAF 2, there wasn't much to say about him or his counterpart, Shadow Bonnie. That mostly wraps up FNAF 2, on to FNAF 3. This is the first game where Freddy really takes a backseat, as in this game, the big bad villain Springtrap, a Bonnie variant, is revealed as the main threat. Freddy still makes an appearance as Phantom Freddy, however. The Phantom line being, burned hallucinations of animatronic characters who jump scare but don't kill. Phantom Freddy is the same way. Avoid looking at him or you're going to be looking at a hazy screen, which might leave you open for Springtrap to swoosh on in. But he's not the only Freddy here. Shadow Freddy also reappears. Admittedly, I never noticed because he looks so much like Phantom Freddy, but this is apparently him. He doesn't have a big role in the gameplay, but in the minigames, Phantom Freddy has a noticeable one. Now, there's a minigame that shows a purple Freddy luring the animatronics to the Purple Man, the murderer of the children, who is currently Springtrap. Now, it is unclear if this is really Shadow Freddy, or if it's just purple to signify that the Purple Man is wearing the Freddy suit. Likely it is Shadow Freddy, but if that's the case, we don't know why he's doing this. It is more than likely that he is coaxing them to go after the Purple Man, like the puppet does in FNAF 2. The answers to what Shadow Freddy is have never really been given. There's hints and theories, but also changing solutions and goalposts. As of right now, he is an enigma. Moving on to FNAF 4, we have a brand new slew of Freddys waiting. So, the premise of FNAF 4 is that we witness the tragedy of a constantly crying child who suffers from a terrible accident at Freddy's, while at night having to face the nightmarish versions of the Freddy game. During one of the daytime cutscenes, we see a bully wearing a Freddy mask, hanging out with the other masked teens, including the crying child's older brother. But during the night sections, while trapped in the lonely bedroom, we confront the nightmarish forms of Freddy and his friends. Nightmare Freddy is nothing to scoff at, with a mouth full of razor-sharp teeth and claws as sharp as cheese knives. And he doesn't come alone. Nightmare Freddy is accompanied by his brood of little Freddles, a cluster of tiny bears with equally jagged teeth. Though they're not here to bite. They instead group up on your bed. You can scare them off with the light, but if you don't and they all get in, Nightmare Freddy will follow suit and it's game over. While this mechanic may seem intimidating, it's pretty easy just to regularly check the bed and keep Freddy out. So, spooky as he looks, Nightmare Freddy isn't too hard to handle, and isn't nearly as intimidating as the much bigger threat waiting later in the game. It's time to discuss Fredbear. Fredbear, for all intents and purposes, was the original Freddy Fazbear. The star of Fredbear's family diner, along with a bonny companion who later became none other than Springtrap, Fredbear was a friendly face welcoming families in for a swell time. Until he bit off too much for him to chew.
Okay, I think this is important. Never mind. Dig yourself, folks.
One day,
They're not gonna show up.
familiar bullies got a little too rowdy and decided to play a cruel prank and shove the crying child's head into Fredbear's gaping mouth. It's unclear what happened, if it was a spring lock failure or something more devious, but Fredbear's mouth clamped closed and crushed the crying child's head in its maw. It's not confirmed, but it was very likely that it was this event that led to the major rebranding into Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, leaving Fredbear behind for a slightly different styled and named bear. Indeed, with how many Freddys opened after this moment, one can assume that the ruse likely worked. But like the nightmares before it, Fredbear returns in a much more menacing form. Nightmare Fredbear. Bigger than the nightmares, more teeth in his mouth and his belly, bloodshot beady eyes above a gaping maw. A perfect encapsulation of the horror that was that accident at Fredbear's. On night 5, Nightmare Fredbear is the sole animatronic who replaces all the other animatronics. He is aggressive, ruthless, one misplaced second and your run is over. You can hear his laughter too as he moves about. And yet somehow, Nightmare Fredbear is not the greatest threat you encounter, because in Nightmare mode, there is hidden one last Freddy, a pitch black and hazy looking bear that resembles Nightmare Fredbear, known simply as, well, Nightmare. Nightmare appears some ways into the night where he replaces the animatronics and plays as a more difficult version of Fredbear. One neat thing to note about Nightmare is his ghostly design. When you brighten up images of Nightmare, you can see straight through him, and see an endoskeleton underneath. Whether this suggests he is not solely a nightmare, but a hallucination or illusion, is unclear. But this does mark the end of the Freddys of Five Nights at Freddy's 4. The next FNAF game and appearance of Freddy would be in FNAF World. Now, the FNAF World section sometimes bogged the video down a little, so I'm going to keep this brief. There are 10 playable Freddys in FNAF World. Freddy, Toy Freddy, Golden Freddy, Fredbear, Withered Freddy, Phantom Freddy, Shadow Freddy, Nightmare Fredbear, and Nightmare. Freddy and Toy Freddy are characters you will start with, and they are the ones with the weakest moveset, with their movesets becoming stronger the further down the line you go. Freddy doesn't seem to have a specializing grouping like how Chica is a healer and the Bonnie is a support, though characters like Phantom Freddy share moves with others in their line, i.e. the Phantom line holds toxic moves, so he has Sludge. Shadow Freddy has 3 insta-kill moves with different rates. Unscrew has a 30% chance to kill, Escape Key can attack multiple enemies but has a lower hit chance, one that it didn't even clarify what the number was, and Water Hose kills all enemies under 30% health. This means that Shadow Freddy has the ability to be a rather dangerous character on your team if your luck is good. Now, Freddy himself doesn't have a significant role in the game, but Fredbear does, playing both as your guide and instructor. Now, there's a whole secret route you can go with helping Fredbear find clocks and put things into place, but this is more a Golden Freddy event than a Freddy one, so I'll keep it light on the lore keeper stuff. Golden Freddy is one of those characters that has so many theories around them that no matter what I say, there's a bullet in every chamber. The one thing that I must bring up is that if you talk to Fredbear, with Fredbear as the leader of your group, the two will glitch out and the universe will collapse in an unexpected bad ending. There's also an oversized wind-up bear boss named Bubba who resembles Freddy Fazbear, but that's pretty much the full extent of his role in this game. Those are all the Freddys. Sister Location is where Freddy again took a backseat to another character, but in return, Freddy got an unexpected addition to his roster. Freddy, the silent leader of the band, was given a new variant in the loud and sadistic side act known as Funtime Freddy. Funtime Freddy is very much the opposite of the Freddy that we have known up to this point. Unlike the sympathetic but threatening Freddy, a victim of the Purple Man, Funtime Freddy is the creation of the Purple Man, a sinister white and purple-plated bear who takes a thrill out of taunting his victims, drawing out his fun with them. Unlike Freddy, built to perform for children, Funtime Freddy's performance capabilities are just an act for his main directive, to kidnap and murder children. His blueprints alone show what he is truly made of. He is, by design, a monster. I've done a video on Funtime Freddy, so I won't go too deeply into him, but I will say that Funtime Freddy is a unique case in how he is the first Freddy with a true distinct personality, largely because Sister Location invited in voice acting, allowing the animatronics to speak for themselves.
Is this what you wanted? Here you are.
Because of this, Freddy and Funtime Freddy might be the same character as in both the Freddys, but they are widely distinct characters with a completely different feeling surrounding them. While Sister Location was the first game in ages with only one new Freddy edition, Pizzeria Simulator returned to Freddy's roots of adding numerous bears of various importance and success, largely due to the game's focus on running a pizzeria, along with managing a secret hidden underneath it. Starting small and with the smallest bear of them all, we have Helpy. Helpy is a virtual helper and perhaps partially representation of the player themselves, resembling a small cartoonish version of Funtime Freddy, or at least carrying his color scheme. Helpy is less than threatening.
Have a safe
The most
trip.
off-putting thing he does is snap his pelvis when diving into and missing the ball pit.
Welcome to the Rooster Inn.
The little guy appears as a mascot after this point,
Very well.
but at
Then
this
allow me
time
to
he's
show you to
limited
your
to
room.
a dancing icon on a screen and a little action figure sitting atop the console screen. In the vein of proper Freddy, however,
Well,
we
be
have
careful out there.
Rockstar Freddy. Rockstar Freddy is a purchasable animatronic for the pizzeria section of the game.
Welcome back,
One of the
everyone.
upper middle
am at your
animatronics,
service.
Rockstar Freddy has high entertainment
Alright,
and low
here you are.
liability. Unfortunately, this is pretty much as far as he goes in this game since he just
Is there
dances on
anything
stage
else?
and
Have a
doesn't
safe
do
trip.
anything else. For being the characters on the title
Welcome
screen,
to the Rooster Inn.
Rockstar animatronics were
Sign in
barely
over
used
here,
in this
please.
game,
Come back here
likely
whenever
only
you're
being
tired.
on said screen because they were technically the newest versions of the Freddy band. But they aren't the only band featured in the game. At a discount price, you can get the mediocre melodies, which are suggested to be an obscure Fazbear Entertainment characters, but look a lot more like general knockoffs, one of which being Ned Bear, perhaps the only bear used less than Rockstar Freddy, the only member of the discounted band to have a liability risk. It is sort of a stretch to count Ned Bear as a Freddy, but we could perhaps count him as a lesser-known cousin. He's not the Freddy Fazbear we want, but he is the one we've got at home. Now let's move out of the pizzeria and to the dirty depths underneath, to the real threat of Pizzeria Simulator. There are 4 animatronics who hunt you in the night. Well, at least they do once they are salvaged and introduced into the business. 2 of these are bears. That would be like a 50% Freddy ratio this time. Though even though one is named a Freddy and the other resembles Rockstar Freddy, neither of these bears are the traditional classic Freddy you might be expecting. Molten Freddy is a degradation of Funtime Freddy into a pile of amalgamized wires, legless, technically eyeless, a crawling broken beast constantly searching for something. Considering those secret directives in Funtime Freddy and his band's blueprints, I think we can guess what they want. Molten Freddy starts hunting on night 2, The animatronics in Pizzeria Simulator wander around and get misled by lures through the maze, while you're listening to try to detect where they are. Molten Freddy plays no differently, really. Neither does Lefty, the bear that resembles Rockstar Freddy, but what he is much different from the average Freddy. He is, in fact, the puppet, or that is, a bear-shaped trap created to contain the puppet and released to wander the maze. Like I said a moment ago, Lefty is virtually a recolored Rockstar Freddy, with the lone change detail being his blinded left eye, like the blackened eye of a vulture it is. Both of these Freddys, Rockstar Freddy and possibly Ned Bear, burn in the fire at the end of the game. Due to Healthy's dubious nature and rebirth as a rebrand later, we can technically say he survived. The next game in the line is Ultimate Custom Night, and dear lord, this will be a long one. Because Ultimate Custom Night is sort of a compilation collection of many of the animatronics throughout the games leading to this point, which leads us to a total of 11 bears to mention, many of them getting something they hadn't had before, voice acting. First off is Freddy. He doesn't get voice acting. Nice to see that the titular character is still getting so much love. Freddy sneaks up on the left door and you have to monitor him and shut the door in his face to keep him out. He speeds up if it's hot, but otherwise he's pretty basic. Toy Freddy, in sharp contrast, is strangely complicated considering his total lack of presence in FNAF 2. So somewhere between his first appearance and his second, a tonal shift was made with Toy Freddy. And by the time Ultimate Custom Night came around, he was reintroduced as a somewhat meme-ish character. He sits in a back room playing Five Nights at Mr. Hugs, a parody of FNAF, except with Mr. Hugs the vacuum cleaner. But he isn't actually playing. You have to click on the camera and play for him. If he dies in the game, you die for real, and he gets really petty about it. And yes, Toy Freddy has a voice now. Take a listen.
It's not my fault. I have fat plastic fingers and can't press the buttons. That game was totally rigged. If I get jump scared, you get jump scared.
As expected, it reflects both his new salty gamer personality and his somewhat dopey design. We'll get back to Toy Freddy later because this isn't the end of the road for him. Next we have Golden Freddy, who appears with similar mechanics and no new voice lines. He appears in the office and you have to flip up the cameras quickly and not stare at him too long to avoid a jump scare. But he is in fact not the only Golden Bear in this game. If Golden Freddy is the only animatronic on the field and you manage to get a death coin and use it, and hopefully have the animatronic spawning Dee Dee blocked from summoning anyone else, you will be confronted by none other than Fredbear. Fredbear greatly resembles a recolored Freddy, slightly edited to look a little more like Golden Freddy. His audio is garbled, but apparently some people think they hear certain phrases. I'm going to let you listen to the lines first without knowledge of the assumed translation, and then tell you what the assumed translation means. That was apparently, let's find a suit that's right for you. Here's the next one.
Let's show him what for.
That was apparently, be sure to come back soon. Here is the last one.
Let's say that's save for having fun.
That was apparently, there's more fantasy and fun where I came from. I'm not sure if these lines are accurate because I didn't exactly hear them myself. Now, like all Golden Freddy adjacent bears, I could go swimming in the red lake of lore and salt, but I will be avoiding that for today and moving on to something more important. Phantom Freddy. Alas, this is a joke, because Phantom Freddy is not much to write home about. He slowly appears in the office and you have to shine a light on him to get him to leave before he gets tangible enough to attack. He has no new voice lines. Nightmare Freddy is nearly Phantom Freddy's counterpart, as he virtually has the same mechanics, just in a more character-oriented way. His Freddles appear in the office, and you have to shine the light on them before they can build up to keep him from coming in. However, unlike Phantom Freddy and even Classic Freddy, Nightmare Freddy has voice lines.
victim that can't perish. No light can save you now. I am the but not my youth, but the one you should not have killed.
I think this is a little self-explanatory, but let me explain anyways. So, the story of Ultimate Custom Night is that this is a purgatory for Afton, or perhaps Michael Afton, who has been mistaken for Afton again. It is likely Afton, but with how FNAF tends to do its sudden twist characters and returns, I want to leave the door open, because you never know. Anywho, this is all puppeteered by the one you should not have killed, an unconfirmed identity child character who is guiding the animatronics to attack. While some of the characters seem to give inklings of their own memories and sentience in their wording, some of them are directly spoken through, or at least talk about being created by the one you shouldn't have killed. So bingo, here's Nightmare Freddy. Nightmare Fredbear and Nightmare are a true counterpart duo this time around. Nightmare Fredbear creeps up on the left door, Nightmare on the right, and they can only be seen when they arrive at the door because they aren't visible on camera, or at least you can see their eyes. Just shut the door on them. Fredbear and Nightmare both have new voice lines. Let's start with Fredbear's. And now Nightmare's. While you may assume the two are very similar as they are both aggressive, there's a clear distinction between the two. Nightmare is much more sinister and threatening, while Fredbear's lines suggest an amount of defensiveness and vulnerability. Nightmare Fredbear reads as a former victim, recognizing the one who likely killed him, his double-toned voice backing up the idea of him being possessed, in contrast to the guttural and monstrous voice of Nightmare, who, like the Night Marionette and some others, seems to be more a creation for punishment. Though this is just reading off of a few short lines. Helpy returns again, no voice lines, and his spiel is that you have to boop him before he blows his air horn. Helpy doesn't do damage, but he raises the noise meter, which can irritate the animatronics who are sensitive to it. Rockstar Freddy returns again, and, would you believe it, not only does he have an exclusive gimmick that no other character has, but he has been given a voice. Though he uses it for pure evil.
Please deposit 5 coins. Please deposit 5 coins. Please deposit 5 coins.
Please deposit 5 coins.
Yes, Rockstar Freddy has gotten into the panhandling business. That's his gimmick. Rockstar Freddy stands in your office until he wakes up, badgers you for money, gets increasingly more demanding when you don't pay up, and then jump scares you. You have to collect coins to pay him off. However, if you don't feel like doing this and you don't have any heat-irritated threats nearby, you can hike up the heater, which causes Rockstar Freddy to short-circuit and shut down. No coins required.
You are attempting to trick Freddy. You are attempting to
Freddy doesn't like this.
Molten Freddy returns again and has the same gimmick as Ennard, who also returns. Both of them travel through the vents, with the only distinction between them really being that Molten Freddy signals his arrival at the opening with an obnoxious laugh, while Ennard simply squeaks. And Springtrap stares through with a dead look in his eyes. Molten Freddy doesn't have any new Ultimate Custom Night lines. He just laughs. So instead, here are some of his lines from Pizzeria Simulator that I forgot to add in earlier.
Thanks for letting me join the party. I'll try not to disappoint.
Almost forgot. Dead Bear returns with the rest of the mediocre melodies. Like them, he travels through the ductwork. He can be warded off by the heater or fooled by an audio lure, with a 50-50 success rate. Ned Bear also has a few lines.
I was just waiting for you to drop your guard. Stranger danger, don't you hate getting killed by obscure secondary characters?
Utterly charming. Lefty is the last bear on the chopping block. He hangs out at the closet in the back and gets riled up by sound or heat. The only way to calm him down is to use the global music box. Unlike in Pizzeria Simulator, where Lefty only shushed, here he has a few lines.
Shh. I've been looking for you, and I won't ever let you go.
With all the bears done, let's move on to the exclusive cutscenes which both feature Freddy. Freddy is the main star of The Bear of Revenge, a samurai versus pirate parody series that shows Freddy's efforts to regain his honor by spiting Foxy of the Fox Clan. Unfortunately for him, Foxy's always one step ahead of him, and because of such, Freddy is constantly stuck doing silly things like his laundry, hanging up Christmas lights, sitting with a giant frog, just ridiculous stuff like that. Now, one could probably read a dozen ways into what this cutscene means, with Freddy and Foxy being a stand-in for Michael and William, or Henry and William, or some other unknown third party in William. But there's not enough confirmation on any side to make for a for sure example of who Freddy's supposed to be. Freddy also appears in Chica's high school days as one of her paramours who she obsesses over and either kills or maims and locks up in her basement. Freddy is in fact the second after Foxy, but there's nothing else exclusively to say about him, save that Toy Chica solely fixates on him because of his top hat of all things. There is also a cutscene of Golden Freddy slinking into the darkness if you get to the end of Ultimate Custom Night. Into the void, if you would. Anyways, on to Help Wanted. Help Wanted is a compilation of the first 3 games, and levels that resemble other moments throughout the series. Initially introduced as a VR game, it was later released in flat-screen mode so that you could play it without feeling like you were on a tilt-a-whirl. There's plenty of Freddy throughout the game. First off, all the Freddys in the first 3 games return in more detail than ever, such as Toy Freddy's dumpy walk cycle and Freddy's up-close and personal jump scare. Our first example of a voice from Freddy also comes from this game, in the form of the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza theme. Throughout the scene, Freddy introduces himself and his bandmates. Here's a little sample.
Let's meet the band. My name's Kid Freddy. I'm the singer of the band. Got a hat and a big bow tie. Oh, I'm a big brown bear, but don't be scared. I'm a real fun-loving guy.
Freddy kind of just comes off as the humble leader, the straight man perhaps, a staple for any animatronic band. Another big level that involves classic Freddy is his repair section. Remember how Freddy used to chime in the original game when he got you cornered in the office? Well, now we get to see how his music box mechanism works as we clear out shoes, hats, and other suspicious materials from inside of him. One wrong move and you're poking the bear. So when you drop the music box apart and break it, you have to very quickly replace it before Freddy breaks you. In one of the FNAF 4 themed levels, we see the return of the hideous Nightmare Fredbear. Now, while many of these Night Terrors levels are a far cry from the original FNAF 4, such as having to hide from Circus Baby and having to ward off Nightmarian's wiggly tickle fingers, Nightmare Fredbear functions a whole lot like the traditional FNAF 4 level. He comes down the hallways, and you have to wait for the right moment to close the door to ward him off. He can also get himself into the closet and on the bed, close the closet door, shine a light on the bed. It's relatively simple. But Nightmare Fredbear is persistent. The creepiest part here is that Nightmare Fredbear doesn't just jump scare you if he gets in. He actually walks into the bedroom, follows you to wherever you are, and then jump scares you, giving us a moment to admire his sheer size and nastiness. One last good showing from the bear. Fredbear isn't the only one who returns either. In an earlier Night Terrors level, we are confronted by Funtime Freddy, who stands down the hallways outside of the bedroom and sends down Bon Bon to get us while Bonette, the other Bonnie hand puppet, distracts us from inside the room. Not too much to say here, but another showing of the bear. Helpy also returns, but not in a specific level, and instead both as a mascot on the level select screens, often seen in little examples of the level, and as a piece of earnable merch from the prize counter. He can be seen in secret Easter eggs too, such as peeking around the screen and hiding in the darkness behind the office. The final big bear, and technically the only new Freddy of the group, is Dreadbear, a large Freddy bear inspired by Frankenstein's monster, the titular character in the Curse of Dreadbear expansion. Dreadbear can be seen wandering around and encountered in a couple of levels. In Danger Keep Out, Dreadbear sort of replaces Freddy. He starts out on a stage and creeps down the hallway where you must flash him with the light to slow him down, because once he reaches the door, He's getting in. It won't stop him. The more important level involving Dreadbear is the one where you bring him to life. Dreadbear is strapped to a chair and you must complete the science experiment correctly or he will break free and attack you. Fun fact, but in the code it does list Dreadbear's name as Frankenfreddy, so that could have maybe been his unfinalized name before they switched it to Dreadbear. There are plenty more Freddy cameos throughout the game, from his face being on the masks the plush babies wear to him being in the trick-or-treat level. There's a lot of Freddy, but we still got a ways to go before we're all caught up, so let's move on from Help Wanted into FNAF AR's Special Delivery. FNAF AR, or Five Nights at Freddy's Special Delivery, was a mobile game where you had to fight off animatronics that came to your home. Naturally, Freddy was in the initial group of animatronics added to the game, and this time he was featured with a brand new voice. If you don't count the Freddy theme song, then this is the first time Freddy speaks in the series.
I expect me to go out now. Looks like someone wasn't ready for Freddy to come to the party. What's that saying? If you can fight me, now, all in here there isn't helping either of us. I planned something special just for you.
Freddy's personality is a little on the flat side. He's the one animatronic character who comes off the most as animatronic character, but the voice works, so there's that. Other than that, there's not much to say about Freddy. He's one of the easier animatronics to defeat, and likely one of the ones you will see the most. Freddy has two skins, Shamrock Freddy and Fireworks Freddy. However, there is also a skin that is technically not a skin. Freddy Frostbear, one of the first alternate characters, is a Freddy, but is actually his own animatronic with his own CPU and even his own skin, Black Ice Freddy. It's a weird conundrum, admittedly. While there were some in-game emails sent by Freddy Frostbear, he doesn't have any voice lines. Here are the emails he sent. On my way. I'm so fun. I'm cool enough to be your new best friend. Brr, sure is cold, wouldn't you say? Hope your place is nice and warm. I'm almost there. I'm almost here. Won't you let me come in out of the cold? The third Freddy animatronic to join the game is Toy Freddy. Like the rest of the toy line, Toy Freddy was introduced to the game later and worked with the added mask mechanic, where in this case, you had to put up the mask and stare Toy Freddy down when he haywires. He also had a mechanic to drain your battery, which you could stop by putting up the mask, but could also be rather annoying with how valuable that battery power is. Toy Freddy had quite a few new lines as well.
Did I overhear that someone needs a friend? I've got a special present just for you. Would you like to hear one of my copyrighted jingles? You seem nervous. Would you like me to be your friend?
In this game, he leans further away from the salty gamer, meme-ish persona introduced in Ultimate Custom Night, and instead seems like a goofy and somewhat dopey mascot peddling his brand and performing his duty to be your friend. In one of the lines, he even seems a little worried about the player's well-being.
Hello? Hello? Well, why won't you say something?
While this isn't too detached from Ultimate Custom Night's version of him, it's largely less tongue-in-cheek. Toy Freddy doesn't feel like nearly as much of a joke character, which I think is a good thing. As comical as Ultimate Custom Night's version was, having that be the canonical personality and shtick would have been maybe a little too goofy. Like when you hear an internet meme pop up in FNAF and it breaks all immersion, and kind of feels like a hello fellow kids moment. Toy Freddy actually has more skins than the original classic Freddy does. He has VR Toy Freddy, he has Aeronaut Toy Freddy, and he also has Woodland Toy Freddy. All of these are pretty well-made skins. It's just a little strange that he got more than the original Freddy did. From toying around to having a Fun Time Freddy was the next bear in line. One who was hinted and advertised from the beginning, but didn't show up for quite a long time. Funtime Freddy's gimmick is that once you take him out, Bon Bon himself becomes a problem on his own, and you have to take him out too, or risk Funtime Freddy getting back up. Though that sounds difficult, Funtime Freddy himself only plays like a slightly harder Freddy. It just makes the encounter a bit longer. So if you have FNAF AR constantly crashing on your phone, you might not be able to handle this double act. Here's a few new lines.
What? Let's not keep our breath left. Scream all you want. No one will hit you. Are you having fun yet? I know that I am. What are you focusing you in your dreams tonight?
Golden Freddy was also introduced into FNAF AR during a special community event and is arguably one of the hardest characters to go up against in the game. And I would be the one to argue that. Golden Freddy's shtick is that he goes through 3 of 5 other characters' movements, moving from one to the other to the next, and then being defeated. He can either mimic Freddy, Toy Freddy, Mangle, Ballora, or Springtrap, and you can see where the difficulty comes in, especially when you have to quickly identify what phase he's going into fast enough that he doesn't get you. Golden Freddy has no lines, but he did get one skin, Great Escape Golden Freddy. Released alongside the Dark Circus DLC, Great Escape Golden Freddy was actually the last skin released before the update stopped, and unfortunately was stuck behind a price tag as he is not encounterable unless you beat this DLC. Now the last Freddy adjacent bear character in FNAF AR is Lefty, though in comes with the caveat. Yes, Lefty appears in FNAF AR. That is, in its files. Lefty was a completed animatronic who was not released before the game went on hiatus. The animations were all finished and the voice actress said all the lines were done. But Lefty still didn't make it in even though he too was hinted like Funtime Freddy. It's a conundrum. But that is the end of FNAF AR for the moment. The next game being released was Freddy in Space 2. Now, Freddy in Space was a minigame in the Halloween update of FNAF World where you played Freddy going through a short platforming section and then fighting Scott Cawthon's head in a jar. It's pretty much just a short parody game. Freddy in Space 2 is a little beefier. Released to tide over for Security Breach and to raise money for charity, it's too a platformer game. Sort of Metroid-inspired in how you can unlock abilities, though through additional characters, not through weapons or upgrades. The premise is that Freddy's doing whatever when his son reveals that he wandered outside the safety of the space base and was locked out by Lol's Hacks, a computer screen with legs who's out to get Freddy, and indeed has already tracked all of his friends. At the urging of Golden Freddy, Freddy sets out to rescue his friends and save the day. Freddy himself is the sort of well-balanced default character. He's not fastest or the strongest, they can't jump the highest, but he doesn't suffer from the gameplay catches those who have those benefits do. The more important aspect is the relationship between Freddy and his son. As a matter of fact, this is the first time Freddy has even been suggested to have a son. This precocious cub decided to sneak out and play, and then was locked out of the base by Lol's Hacks. It doesn't have much time. Specifically, 30 minutes. And I am not joking, you have 30 minutes to complete Freddy in Space 2 to get the good ending where Freddy manages to rescue his son. This is a feasible but frustratingly difficult challenge, as it means having to unlock characters and upgrade them. Unless you want to just play as Freddy and upgrade him, it's a tight time crunch. But in the end, Freddy rescues his son, his crew, and the day is saved. Another game made to tide over the fans was Security Breach's Fury's Rage, a side-scroller beat-em-up featuring the characters from Security Breach. Decked out in the raddest digs with a gnarly rat tail, or bear tail, Freddy scours the city taking out bad guys left and right. And that's literally left and right because that's where the enemies come from. Freddy has the highest stamina and has good power and luck, with his only lacking trait being his special. Here are a few of his lines.
Oh, cruising for a bruising. Let's see if they're ready for Freddy. Pizza Cyclone! I'll take that to go.
The game's story really
Welcome to
is
the
just
Rooster
Freddy
Inn.
and Co. protecting the
Sign in
city,
over
and
here.
it ends
Come
on a
back
sort
here
of
whenever you're
non-ending,
tired.
so there's nothing really too deeply to get
Hello?
into.
What you got for
Before
me?
the release of Security Breach, a series of
Thanks,
teasers
got some new
featuring
goods.
Freddy and Friends
Good.
released
Is that all you
online.
came for?
Freddy and Friends on Tour was basically a parody of Saturday morning cartoons. Hanna-Barbera made one specifically. Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica would travel around while being chased by Foxy, and then would end each episode by singing a song. Notably, the singing voice of Freddy in this cartoon is Kellen Goff, who has done a few voices throughout the series, including Funtime Freddy. and with the arrival of Security Breach, Kellen Goff was cast once more to play the newest threat in the series, Glamrock Freddy. Like Funtime Freddy, Glamrock Freddy was a huge step in a new direction
known
when
as
it came to the
Diavolo.
character type. Glamrock Freddy is a new high-tech model of animatronic in Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex. While animatronics have always been more robotic than real-life animatronics, the Glamrocks take this to a whole new extreme with thick metal endoskeletons and plated exteriors designed for the animatronics to walk around and engage with guests and perform on stage with more elaborate choreography. They also have assumedly state-of-the-art processing systems and run on batteries that must be recharged through stations littered throughout the Pizzaplex.
Thanks for the business.
Glamrock Freddy is the animatronic we get most up close and personal
Hello,
with,
everyone.
as he is an ally to
You
the
please
player,
accept
even
this.
allowing them to climb inside and
Item
pilot
storage
him
then?
when needing to cross the Pizzaplex without getting caught. This being allowed
Very
by
well.
Glamrock Freddy's
I'll look
hollowed-out
after these.
stomach
Is there
hatch.
anything else?
While this is eerily similar to Funtime Freddy's stomach hatch, Glamrock Freddy assures us that it is for carrying birthday cakes and
I will carry
piñatas.
this one.
And it might be easy to believe Glamrock Freddy, who is quite a deviation from the Freddys
I am
before
at
him.
your service.
Glamrock Freddy
Another
is
proud
bursting
yes
with
at once.
personality, and that personality is warm and friendly,
I shall await your
accommodating,
return.
willing to bend the rules to help someone in need, but still
Welcome to the
sometimes
Rooster
sticking
Inn.
to them.
Very well.
For
A quick
example,
rest,
Freddy
right?
is willing to
Of
help
course.
hide Gregory, the child character we play as, from the security officer and the
Well, be
malfunctioning
careful out
Glamrocks
there.
to help keep him safe, even though it is against the rules. But he will not accompany him into Fazerblast because it would be cheating for them to play together.
They are all accessible to staff with high enough clearance, of course. Guests are never allowed down here, but yours is a special situation. On you we cannot live together. That would be cheating. I regret not to cheat.
Freddy is full of charm and is very sweet and supportive.
Way to go, superstar! I knew you could do it.
He also has his